Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of iPad Pros. Join me today for this first episode of 2025 is Riley Hill. So in this first episode of 2025, we'll be first looking back at 2024 and how our workflows changed throughout the year. Maybe it was through a new app or new hardware or accessory that we got. And then we'll be looking forward into 2025 and what our hopes are hardware-wise, OS-wise, and things we hope to see happen in this upcoming year. So I hope you enjoy this episode coming up with Riley Hill as we kick off this brand new year. As a reminder, you can support this podcast over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. My great thanks to everyone that supports the show. With that, here's my discussion with Riley. Enjoy. Welcome back to the podcast, Riley.
As always, thank you for having me.
It's now 2025. I can't believe it.
Where does the time go?
I know. I was looking back at when I started this podcast. It's July 2017, I think. So 2.5 years away from the 10th anniversary, which
wow,
I feel old. Every year I feel older and older.
Well, I think this, if I'm not mistaken, isn't 2025 10 years of iPad Pro itself? Like, I think it was introduced in 2015.
I believe so. Yeah,
Which
2017
cool.
was the second gen
Yeah.
that got me reinvigorated to start the podcast because it was so good.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, 2015, 10 years. That was in a late year launch, I think, October, and then the smaller version came out in like February or January the next year. Yeah.
Yeah, annoyed some people because it had
the True Tone.
True Tone, yes.
And once you have a True Tone display, you don't go back.
Yeah,
you
every
really
so often I turn it off and it's like, wow. You know? It's crazy.
Yeah, especially if you use it side by side with another device, you just need to update all your devices to True Tone. If you have one device, that's always for me. I got the second generation iPad Pro. It's like I'll get the 10.5 along my big first generation iPad Pro, and one had True Tone and one didn't, and that just ruined it. I had to update both. So when display technologies change like that, it really makes a huge difference. Like as far like OLED and the mini LED, those I think can live side by side. I'm using them one iPad Pro still happily.
Yeah.
But True Tone and stuff that like affects the color temperature of the display is just such a big difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So in this episode, we're going to be kind of just, I was just trying to think what to cover right now. Begin 2025. We're kind of still getting the year kicked off. So I want to look back at 2024, how our workflows may have changed over the past year. And then looking ahead to 2025, some hopes for how it might change even further. So that's kind of where I want to take this episode.
Sounds good.
Yeah. 2024, I guess we should start there. The past 12 months or so. I was surprised that I ended up buying an iPad. I did not expect me to get the M4 iPad Pro.
Really?
In the 11-inch size class.
Okay.
I did. And it's an amazing device. And my big iPad M1 is very sad because it gets much less use. Still used, but not as much.
Yeah. It's a very big year for iPad after our quietest year ever, right? 2023.
Yeah, no updates, right? The
iPads.
previous year. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only iPads that didn't get updated are the base iPad, right? Because the mini got its little update. Yeah. But the base iPad we're expecting this year. But yeah, it was a big year for hardware updates for sure. And you got like did you get the mini? You got all three. You got 3 iPads this year, didn't you? This past year.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I got everything but the Air, which again I continue to not be able to justify. You know, I mean, we'll get to that later, but I would love to have my 11-inch iPad be the Air. It's just we need a few more updates before I could do it.
Yeah, I mean. And I gotta say, the 11-inch iPad Pro is such a nice, just perfect. The thinness really does you appreciate it day to day. Like it's not something that just like you forget about. Like every time I pick it up, it's like, oh wow. Yeah. And I still don't have a Magic Keyboard for this iPad. I've been using it touchscreen keyboard or with my Mac, which is just a slab, my half of my MacBook Air. So I'll use it with that for bigger typing tasks, but I use it a lot just as a tablet, which is a really good experience. At some point, I might want a Magic Keyboard, but I still haven't seen a single sale on that new generation of Magic Keyboard. So I'm kind of waiting for the first sale, however long that'll be.
You know, people on the internet poo-poo, Apple making things thinner. But I think it really is key for things you hold like an iPad because you hold it, right? Like every little bit actually does help. So, the efforts they made to make the M4s thinner, like it's still kind of novel to me. Like every time, like you said, I pick it up, and it's just like, geez, like this is really nice.
Yeah. And 2024 was the year the Apple Vision Pro came out. So I started the year side-loading Ferrite onto the Vision Pro. And I really loved the experience of editing podcasts there. But when I got the iPad Pro again, the new one, the Apple Pencil Pro with the squeeze, it really just made Ferrite even that much more delightful to me, where I can squeeze on the Apple Pencil versus the double tap, which wasn't nearly as enjoyable or also just as responsive. It had some accidental input, where I can just squeeze the pencil and then it just selects all the following tracks from that point, and it makes it so easy to just delete audio and move stuff around. And so I've pretty much moved all my editing back to the iPad. I still have Ferrite on the Vision Pro, but much less usage there. And with the nano texture screen, it's just very pleasurable to be able to edit outside even. So that's been a nice change.
What about the haptics on the Pencil Pro? Because that, for me, like, it's hard to go back to any other pencil experience. Like in Final Cut, it just feels like it's always been there, the haptics on the pencil.
Yeah.
I get used to it really quick.
It's nice. Like, it's just... in the Hover, too. This is the first Apple Pencil I had with Hover. And that was also just so my workflow changed this past year with tearing apart a $300 MacBook Air on eBay. And so I've got the half of the Mac here as well. And with Hover on the Apple Pencil, that means Sidecar, I can fully control it without a keyboard or trackpad with just the Apple Pencil, because Hover lets you move a mouse on Sidecar with the Apple Pencil, which is so super handy. And like in a pinch, it's nice to be able to just grab the Apple Pencil and fully control a Mac that way.
That is pretty cool. And, you got to wonder the rumors of, there are a lot of rumors for the 2026 MacBook Pro, but supposedly we're getting touch. Maybe we'll get some form of pencil support. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
It would be interesting. Yeah, I'd be, I'm all for making these things usable, accessories usable across device families. So
yeah, for sure.
More the merrier.
But the haptics too, just like whenever I experience it, it's like, it's just a nice touch. Like all the little things, it adds up.
It's the haptics for me, I think, are really, like, for my workflow, specifically around Final Cut. Like, I've moved a bit more to editing with the pencil itself, whereas before it was something I only occasionally did. Now I'm primarily actually editing with the pencil.
Tell me
because that experience.
Tell me about that experience, because when I did a couple of just sample projects doing some quick edits, it felt like to me that Final Cut Pro is designed to have like the jog wheel in one hand and your other hand kind of like without a pencil in it. Like, how does it work with the pencil? It feels like the UI is designed kind of be to hand, in that way.
Yeah, you're right. It is optimized for that, but for me, it's really just getting the timeline to be you got to scale the timeline to be smaller, I guess, so that you can drag around the point with the pencil, and then it's just using it for. It's not as optimized as it could be, right? There are definitely some integrations. Like I don't think Squeeze does anything specific in Final Cut Pro, but like, again, just the haptics. I'm moving around the pointer, and then cutting and moving and just doing all that with the pencil. But the key is really just zooming out the timeline. And I think in Final Cut 2, in version 2, they made it bigger. Like the timeline takes up more space in that view. which threw me off for a bit. But yeah, once I do that, it's really just been pretty fluid to edit that way.
So they're Final Cut 2 now, and they're Final Cut 11 now. Do you think we'll get Final Cut 3 before Final Cut 12? Like, will they eventually be able to get both of the versions in sync, or do you think we're just going to get 12 and 3 and like we'll just always be out of sync in the name?
I'm a little concerned we'll always be out of sync, but it seems like, and I bring this up a lot on social media, they promised third-party integrations for Final Cut when it launched. Coming soon, third-party integrations, and those obviously still are not here. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it seems like the plugin situation is probably the main thing to hold back that kind of unified Final Cut across Mac and iPad, I think. So they need to figure that out first. Before we could get to, because obviously, hopefully we get to that point where it is, you can go back and forth if you choose between iPad OS and Mac OS. Bonus points if there was some kind of cloud sync, like I think DaVinci does. Like, I don't know if we'll ever get there. I don't feel like Apple's investing that much into these tools, but I really hope they do one day.
For sure, yeah. And I just want to point out another just hardware purchase this past year that's made my just life much better. The Anchor, what do you call this? They're a big boy battery that has a screen on it, and there's a little dock.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
There's a little dock you can bop it onto and inductively charges it lightning fast speeds, faster than any wired method I've ever tried with this battery. It's an incredible thing, and with the Vision Pro especially, it's been helpful to have a huge battery that also tells you how much time's left in the battery before it's dead, and it's great with the iPad as well, and it's my favorite battery. I've owned a lot. I'll tell you, I've owned a lot of external batteries in my life. Probably 20 to 30, if I'm being honest.
I believe it.
This thing's incredible. It's my favorite, and the charging dock just puts it over the top. It's great.
That's a good point about the Vision Pro. I have some travel planned for this year, but I haven't traveled with it yet, and that is obviously my biggest concern is outside of carrying this,
sure,
$3,500 computer around is
you gotta have the police or the president handcuffed to the Vision Pro,
right? Yeah. But just the whole battery thing, right? Obviously, if I'm on a plane, my charging options are incredibly limited, so. That's a good suggestion. I've looked at that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's great.
Looked at it a few times.
It's expensive, but it's definitely worth the plunge. And I'll use it around the house too if I'm away from my main sitting place for the Vision Pro for whatever reason. My one experience on the plane this past year with the Vision Pro, I was on a fancy flight and coach that had 30 watts of USB-C power delivery at the seat. It's this is great.
Nice.
Just plugged right in. I was shocked. This first flight I've ever been on that had that.
Yep. No, I've never seen anything like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Southwest. It was one of their new planes or something. I was shocked because Southwest,
right,
airbounds or whatever. The other one I just want to point out, purchase-wise this past year, accessories that I've just been delayed with are the headphones I'm wearing to record this episode. That's from PlayStation, the Pulse Elite, but. What I love about these things, I love recording with them. First off, because I was very tired of doing the wire thing and having 1,000 wires here at the desk. But it works with this little dongle thing for PlayStation Link audio, which is this lossless audio technology PlayStation developed mainly for PS5, but also it works on Mac and iPad. And I just have this dongle plugged into my Thunderbolt dock, and when I plug it into my PlayStation, it has the dongle there. If I plug it into my Mac, where I'm recording right now, or on my iPad, it would work there. And then it also works with Bluetooth. So if I need to get audio from my iPhone, I can take a phone call basically without having to change devices and whatnot. It's kind of the multi-audio device thing that I think AirPods should have one day. Like I would love AirPod Pros that I could be watching something on iPad while listening to a podcast on my phone at the same time. And I want that one day, and that's available with these. And they're very comfortable, and they were only $130 on sale. I use these instead of my AirPods Max, which are upstairs, because those are just hard to reliably hook up to record with. So anyways,
I love the versatility of a good Thunderbolt dock, right? Like
it's so handy, right?
Yeah. And especially from an iPad perspective, as we've slowly been, they've been building up the USB accessory compatibility and adding Thunderbolt, and then external camera support. It's like
my camera is plugged into that Thunderbolt dock. So when I plug in there, a camera comes on for my. 'Cause my display doesn't have a camera built into it. My external monitor I'm using. And then Ethernet is also in that dock. So whenever I plug in, gets Ethernet. Yeah. So,
I mean, it's like all the stuff pretty much everything you plug in there can work across Mac or iPad or, whatever. And that's just, even just a few years ago, that wasn't possible. And just goes to show the progress the platform's been making.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that, like many years ago, I still would love 2 USB-C ports on my iPad.
Yep.
But it's less of a need when you're at your desk, because you just have all the ports you want through a single connection, which is super nice.
Yep. I just, I'm right now, I picked up a studio display over the holidays, so I'm using that at the moment, but I'm debating bringing back out my Thunderbolt dock just again because it is so versatile. We'll see. I can.
Because what ports do you get on the studio display? You get a couple.
You just get 3 USB-C ports.
That's it.
That is
no
it.
No Ethernet, nothing like
No. So I have to use an adapter if I wanted to do Ethernet.
Yeah, pull up the dock. I would just do the dock. Plug into the dock for the display too, right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it should work just as well. But we'll see. I'm still finalizing my setup. But
okay. Yeah.
But yeah. But as far as workflow, kind of on the things we purchased point. So I bought this little stand for what I call my iPad travel bag whenever I'm able to go out of the house with just my iPad. It's this tiny owl. I don't have it in front of me, but it's this magnetic stand, but it's just a kickstand case. It's the tiny owl adjustable kickstand cover. And I love this thing because, I've looked for a case like this so many times because I really just want the stand. And I think a lot of times people use the Magic Keyboard. Really, all you want is a stand. Like you probably just want to watch some video, and that's what you have.
Yeah,
and this is
I will use the Magic Keyboard for that with my big iPad all the time. It's a great stand.
Exactly. So like this to me is exactly. It goes to show the versatility of the iPad and the tablet form factor, because all you need is this. And you're off and running, watching video or whatever. I mean, you can obviously use a Bluetooth keyboard with it or whatever else you want with it, but I'll take this with me a lot just to prop up the iPad, right? And it's minimal. I personally love that it doesn't cover the sides, like it, because the iPad has all these magnets on the back, and it's crazy to me. Similar cases to this will be like, oh, attach our case to, you have to attach our case and then attach the kickstand or something like that.
Yeah, this whole ecosystem they're trying to build out. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the company for this?
Full of magnets. Tiny Owl, TineEEOWL.
Cool. I'll try to include it in the links if I can remember.
But
it's nice and portable. Nice.
I mean, it's it's a little thicker than I would like, but I mean, it has to be a certain level of thickness.
Yeah, and you just throw it in your luggage or whatever when you're traveling.
Yeah.
Nice. Any other purchases of note outside of your 3 iPads? With just one pencil this year, right? You just share them?
Just the one pencil, yeah. Although I did just pick up, I mean, this is a 2025 thing, but I did just pick up that ESR pencil they just came out with that supports Find My.
For like $30 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious
how
I
just picked that up just to check it out. hopefully, if everything goes well, I'll have a video out about it by the time this goes live. But
And how's it support Find My as far as like there's no speaker in it? Does it no beeping? Right?
it does play a sound.
Oh, that would
Yeah.
be lovely if the Apple Pencil would do that one day.
No, it does play a sound, which was a nice surprise, but it paired super easily. Again, with stuff like that, I always encourage people to explore third-party accessories if you're buying an iPad. Every reviewer kind of assumes you're just going to buy an iPad and then the Apple keyboard and then the Apple stylus. But there's some great third-party options out there that maybe can't do everything Apple's stuff can do,
Right.
for reasons.
Yeah.
But the stylus in particular, like if you're just a note taker and you're just, navigating around the iPad, like it works just as well as an Apple Pencil, and it's $30.
Yeah.
So
No, for sure. Your iPads are doing the same roles they did in the previous year. They're just all better. Is that an accurate statement for you?
I would say that's accurate. I will say, yeah, I guess this is more 2025, but lately I've been feeling myself, I had a decent division between the 13-inch and the 11-inch for certain tasks. The 11-inch is a little bit more for, I don't want to just say content consumption because that is weirdly like a negative towards the iPad.
Yes.
But I honestly have just been feeling the 13 pulling me for everything. Like I feel like I'm solidifying myself on just using the 13-inch Pro because it's so light.
Interesting.
And everything. It's easier to use. It's just my everything iPad. So the 11-inch is getting a little bit less use. I do use the 11 with my work computer, so it gets some use there. But the 13 is
it was sidecar or
honestly, well, mostly so we use the Microsoft suite at work, so it's plugged into all of that stuff and accessing documents and note taking and stuff like that.
Has the orientation of the camera impacted you? Like, has that been a big win for you? Like, that's the one thing everyone was asking for in iPad land. Move that camera over there.
Well, what's been more impactful has been the external camera support, honestly. Because chances are if I'm taking a video call on my iPad, I'm at my desk, and then I would just use that. So
gotcha.
That's been more impactful, although I am happy they moved it to the landscape edge. I think they did it right this year, right? Where everything but the Mini got it moved.
Yeah, the Mini makes sense to hold it vertically.
In portrait.
Yeah,
exactly.
Portrait, yeah.
So I think keeping it the Mini camera where it is makes a lot of sense. But on everything else, I think it's in the right spot now. So and it encourages me, especially on the 13, to use it in landscape more often.
Mm-hmm.
It
For
just,
sure.
Makes it feels right.
Yeah. Anything from the OS updates of note in iPad land?
For me, as a pseudo writer, I guess as well. The Apple Intelligence stuff, the writing tools, like I actually do make use of those. Specifically around proofreading and a little bit around the rewrite tool, but not having a proofreader, like I'm a terrible, I misspell. I'm a terrible typist, so I really need an editor. But since it's just me, I've been making heavy use of the proofread tool. That's been really helpful for me. And honestly, surprisingly, the ChatGPT integration into Siri has actually been something I find myself using more than I thought. It's really just kind of handy to have that quick access through the voice assistant.
Good, yeah. I'm just happy we got all the home screen stuff and the control center customizations, but nothing. It's such a sad year for just you get all the stuff the iPhone does.
Hold up. What about the calculator? We got a calculator.
We did get the calculator and math notes. If I was in high school, middle school, I'd be so excited. Be so excited for math notes, but I no longer do math.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really, if I'm being honest, like tip at a restaurant. That's as far as my math goes these days.
It's interesting though. I mean, obviously they could have made a calculator at any point they wanted. Um, I thought the holdup was that, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, but like, every app on iPad is full screen, but you don't really need a calculator to be full screen. Most people. I mean, some people.
Most people.
Will,
I mean,
sure.
if you're really old, those big
Yeah.
eyes,
Yeah, if you have, eyesight issues, that might be good. But like, I was hoping, I was hoping they were working on some kind of a language in the OS for floating apps beyond kind of Stage Manager. Like,
Yeah.
you remember the, what is it, Quick Notes?
Yeah, Quick
That
Notes,
has a
the
little-
little Windows system, which I love. You
Right.
just drag, and more apps
Right.
should have that.
Exactly. So I was hoping they were enabling something like that, because then the calculator makes more sense. But
Yeah, imagine if you dragged, this is almost like a 2025 thing, but imagine if you dragged up from the corner and you have like a radial dial where you can
Mhm.
drag your finger left to right to pick which app you want to open the little mini window of. That would
Exactly.
be interesting.
That would be that's a great idea. I hope they steal it.
Yeah, I don't know if that would scale well beyond 10 apps, but maybe it's your 10 favorites. And I don't know. There's like an other section at the end or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. That'd be cool. Anything else in 2024 worth mentioning?
No, I think that's pretty much covers it. Hardware obviously was really big in 2024, and hopefully that's the last year that we get like no hardware updates. Like, I mean, people poo-poo spec bumps, and I think that's what we're rumored to be getting this year. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with keeping your machines up to date.
No.
People buy at different times, so
Yeah. And so iPad Pros to me are 18-month cycle, right?
there. Yep.
Now, 18 months from, was it May? When was the...
Yeah.
Are
It was
we
May.
Is it possible we get a November iPad Pro refresh
I think we will.
with just new chips?
I think it's going to just be new chips. I mean, I hope for. I mean, I want an always-on display. I don't know how necessary it is.
Yeah.
but
I mean, they
should
could
do it.
That could be something that's not rumored. That's just in there because that's hard to decipher from
Right.
leaks.
It's that whole. I think the iPad Pro screen, on the OLED iPad Pro screen, I think only goes down to 10 hertz at its lowest. And I know the iPad on the iPhone they wanted 1 hertz refresh rate to do always on. So I don't know if they could do it with the hardware they have today, or if it's gonna need an updated screen. But I would love to see that.
It'd be nice and not used all the time because a lot of people have the
Right.
smart cover and just flips right over
Yeah.
when you're not using it. But when you are just having it at your desk, it'd be nice to have that as an option. So you're not just like, you probably just have the iPad unlocked and never lock settings kind of thing where you just have it up as a dashboard. Or
I would absolutely use it that way.
do you now with like just tell it never to lock kind of thing and have it open, or no?
I don't do that with my M4. My
Mhm.
M1 with the mini LED, I actually do that.
Okay.
But the M4 is I don't. I know burn-in's not really as much of a problem these days, but I'd rather not.
Oh, that's your concern. And is
A
OLED
little bit.
worse for that?
It is worse for that.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of protections you can put software-wise that Apple can do, and probably already do, like rotating pixels kind of behind the scenes just to make sure, just to even out the wear. But
Sure. Yeah.
if they, I don't know, I feel like if they can get it down to the 1 hertz refresh rate, then I would feel more confident, because it hasn't been a problem on the iPhone that I know of, like burn-in. But
Sure.
we'll see. I don't know if they'll ever do that, but I'd love to see it.
And then pretty soon here, we're expecting the base iPad to go from 10 to 11.
Yes,
It got a
finally.
price drop last year, which is good, and they got rid of the last Lightning iPad. And
Mhm.
the exciting thing, I think, with this update will be the Apple Pencil story. We'll be able to use Apple Pencil Pro, I think, on this thing, and we can just unify everything.
I hope that happens.
Because right now they can use the Lightning Apple Pencil with the adapter, or you can use USB-C if you want the one with less capabilities.
But it's my understanding that 10th gen doesn't have the magnets on the side.
Right, that's why
they
it
could
doesn't
add.
do it. Yeah,
Which they could add.
it.
The magnets and the charging
Because
coils
they figured
or whatever.
out, they figured out how to do cameras with magnets, so they can do that now. They have the technology to do magnets with the camera now.
But can they do it for $349? I mean, they can, but I mean, will they do it for $349?
Oh, is there a scenario where they release this 11th gen and they continue with the 10th at a lower price? Does that happen? Because that's such an Apple or a Tim Cook thing to do.
It is a Tim Cook thing to do. Because
they just did the price drop this year. Yeah,
they bit the bullet on the mini, like we got, and I'm assuming. I think it's reasonable to assume the update the mini got is what the 11th iPad 11 is going to get.
I mean, and as far as cost, it seems like doing the new form factor, that's where the big cost is. So they've already done the price drop with the new form factor. It seems like we shouldn't need to be in that situation because the expensive part has already been price dropped, and they'll just do some nice refinements here.
I guess I'm just pessimistic about it. I hope they unify the pencils. I think they should, but I just feel like we're going to be in the same situation where it's going to be USB-C and the Pencil One with this adapter thing. Like I feel like they're not going to put that stuff, the hardware in.
I want to not believe that because it seems like the Lightning Apple Pencil just needs to go away now.
Well,
and then it has its separate keyboard thing too. That lives on, we think. They're not going to do the magnet thing, right?
Right. I'm actually hoping. I'd love to see that keyboard spread across the rest of the line, or made available as an option for the other iPads. Because some people, I know, some people don't like that whole kickstand form factor.
Sure.
But some people do. And I think it'd be, and I love that, the pieces are detachable. Again, I could just use that back stand if I wanted.
Yeah.
I'd love to have that as an option on my iPad Pro.
I mean, I would love that if the keyboard is also Bluetooth. Let me use that keyboard attached from my iPad.
That's what Microsoft did in 2024. Yeah.
That's a great idea because as I use the Mac with the iPad as a keyboard, having it separated is such a nice thing. I remember in college, I had a 17-inch MacBook Pro as my main computer back then, 2006 to 10 era. And I would travel in my little computer bag. I would bring an external keyboard with me because I wanted the detachment from the screen at like a desk where I'd have like a MIDI keyboard on one side of me, the big keyboard, the number pad next to me, so I could have the number pad with one hand, the MIDI keyboard with the other hand as I'm writing music. And detaching a keyboard and moving that around has true utility, I think. Yeah.
I think so. It's one of the strengths, I feel like, again, of the iPad/tablet form factor, that capability.
Yeah, and the brilliant thing about that form factor too is it would have a battery, but the user would never need to worry about it because when you're done working, you donk it onto the iPad, and it'll just charge it up when you're not using it. Like, it would be so nice.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I would love that to happen. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful if they can keep the price the same. I mean, that's going to be the least expensive way to get an Apple Intelligence, which has I'd say at this point the feelings are mixed on it in the community, but
it'll only get better, right?
Exactly. We're just getting started with this stuff, so that'll be nice. But I do want to touch on one point you made about unifying the pencils. Like, one of my hopes for 2025 is, which probably won't happen, but I think we need to, and we're almost there. Like, once the iPad 11 comes out, then we've got all the iPads with 8 gigs of RAM and a relatively powerful chip.
Because we're thinking A17 Pro is what's going inside that baseline. Are we? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we say that. Are we actually thinking that? Because the Mini is a low volume product.
It is.
Are they trying to get rid of the A17 Pro chip in a low volume product like the Mini versus if you want to clear your inventory of A17 Pro chips, you put in the baseline iPad, and then I feel like it could get the A18 so they don't run through their entire inventory on a higher volume product like the iPad baseline.
Hey, I'm here for it if they want to do that. I also though wonder if maybe again it was kind of supply chain speculation that that process the A17 Pro was on was expensive or
Yeah.
not as efficient, but like maybe it wasn't. Maybe we've, been led astray and it's really not as, expensive for them to make these now and they just keep making A17 Pros. I don't know.
It's a hot chip too. I would not want that to just continue on. Let's run our course of those and update the Mini next year to the A18 and be done with it.
But now that everything's going to be on a more powerful baseline, which I've been advocating for a while, we need to get the software on that more powerful baseline, which means we need to get Stage Manager and proper external display support on the Mini and the base iPad. Like we need to standardize that across the whole lineup. So then developers can take Stage Manager seriously because it's not just limited to the most expensive iPads.
Because they limit it to the Pro entirely for RAM reasons. Is that correct? That's the answer they gave people?
The Pro and the Air, the M series chips, I guess.
M series chips.
Say. Yeah.
And that was M series chips. The main thing that they had going for it was 8 gigabytes of RAM or more, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Apple Intelligence is 8 gigabytes or more?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's time.
And for the Mini, I wonder if they would just do it for external monitors for Stage Manager.
Which would be fine.
Which is
totally
what
fine.
I want. I want the Mini with the external monitor support that does Stage Manager. Like that seems like the perfect tablet that transforms into a real computer when you're at your desk.
I'm not one of the people who wants the iPad to be a Mac, but this is an area I want Apple to take inspiration from the Mac because I don't think, by and large, the software that runs across the Mac line is the same. Like they don't gate as many features or maybe any.
No, you could run Final Cut Pro on a 2011 MacBook Air, which is not
exactly
powerful. Yeah.
So I'd like to see them stop gating software features like across the iPad line. Like,
yeah, the only thing I can think of is external monitor support of Macs. Like it limits it to like 1 versus 2 based on hardware things in there.
Yeah.
But all of them have at least some form of external monitor support. Imagine if we got the baseline external monitor support there, and then if you had a 16 gigabyte iPad Pro, you get even better external monitor support with 2 monitors. Or whatever.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I mean, I say it every year, but I really hope we get that audio subsystem finally worked on.
Yeah.
But I fear Apple Intelligence is going to be a distraction for everything. And we'll just... But it feels like we're so overdue for an iPad year. Like, we're like... The TikTok didn't happen as it normally did.
iPad years were interesting because for a while there, a good iPad year was a bad iPhone year. Like, it was like... If, they couldn't focus on both at once. But I think they've settled down a bit on that front, but I agree with the audio stuff. I feel like it's so overdue. It would be such a win if they just made those small improvements. I feel like at this point it's really it's an interface question. They need to figure out how they want to expose these features in a computer that's supposed to be easier to use than a Mac or PC.
They added APIs so audio hijack could run on the Mac without needing to do some crazy kernel,
right?
Reboot, hold the T button while you're rebooting and enable this thing. But it now works on the Mac in a secure way through APIs. So bring that stuff to the iPad to let audio hijack run. Be amazing.
Well, I always come back to the interface because I feel like obviously technically they could do it. Like I feel like again, just in my head, but I feel like the holdup is, I don't know, the design team, like figuring out a way to expose this stuff in an iPad way,
Right. Yes. Oh man.
But like, yeah, but the foundations obviously are so similar that this stuff could just be brought over. But yeah, that'd be a huge win with the community if they just, improve the audio, and there were those rumors.
Yeah, imagine you
visit
visit a website and your podcast doesn't stop playing because the website has some audio thing going on.
There were rumors a couple years ago. This was, I don't know, the random things I remember. This was the leaker whose like sister worked at Apple, and he was leaking stuff, and then he got her fired. Anyway, one of the rumors that person had was like multiple audio sources in Stage Manager, and I thought that was like maybe a good way to do that. Like just gate it behind Stage Manager. Like you're entering this pro mode,
yeah,
and then let the audio give us all that audio stuff that the Mac can do. But keep it simple for those who are just using it as a tablet.
Sure. Yeah. That's, I mean, I'm so curious what iPad OS 19 will be.
I continue to hope, since obviously Vision Pro is built on a lot of the prior OSs, but I mean, it's heavily like iPad OS.
Yeah, and maybe
derived.
Vision OS can push iPad in a way that hasn't had that in a while.
Exactly. I feel like there's some synergy there, I guess, that could, if you were proposing some kind of pro feature inside Apple for iPad, but it can also work on Vision Pro, maybe that helps, pull it higher up the priority list or something. It's my hope.
Yeah. And then, any hardware stuff you're looking forward to? Has CS caught your eye? Anything that's coming up from that show?
Having just moved, I am keeping an eye out for HomeKit stuff. Since being in a house now, I can actually make use of more of some of this stuff.
Nice.
But
you should look for a home key lock.
Yeah,
that has been the most fun I've ever had with a lock. Using the Apple Watch to unlock your door is just great.
I am considering. I actually just bought. I don't know. I guess this is being a purist, but I bought the Logitech doorbell.
Okay.
Which has such mixed reviews.
Yes.
But and I could buy like a Ring or something, and then I could use like Homebridge or one of these tools to bridge
You don't want to deal with Homebridge.
I don't want to do that.
It's a headache you don't want in your life. I mean,
exactly. So I went with this Logitech doorbell that may or may not overheat. I don't know, but it seems like the best one.
Yeah.
So we'll see in a few days when it shows up.
Okay, cool.
But as far as you mentioned hardware, and this won't happen unless the rumors are wrong, but it seemed like at one point we were pretty close to getting a larger iPad Pro. Like I feel like Mark Gurman said they were pretty close to launching a 14-inch.
Where's that guy?
Yeah, so let's get back on a larger iPad Pro.
iPad Studio. Let's do it.
iPad Studio.
Fall 2025.
Just surprise us and let's do it. I'm here for it. Going back to software real quick, you mentioned the audio stuff. I feel like we have to mention Stage Manager again because Stage Manager's in an okay place right now, but there are some easy wins here too. This 4-app limit.
It's ridiculous. The 4-app thing. And then when you open the 5th app, it's like, where'd my app go? It doesn't ask you what apps do you want to close. Just like, boop.
And it's not even apps, it's windows, right? If you open 4 notes windows and then, it still counts. So again, there's some things they could do to Stage Manager. That would give them so much goodwill and in the community.
Yeah, and they could do, I imagine, some kind of stacks interface where you could have windows that you're able to flip through easily.
Yeah.
Within Stage Manager. Yeah.
But I'd love to see that. I like you, I am concerned Apple Intelligence being such a priority is something of a distraction for iPad and Vision OS stuff.
Yeah. I just wonder what the teams are like. Is there a team that's Apple Intelligence, or is that just taking over the iOS and iPad OS development teams as well?
I feel like I read that a lot of the car project people maybe went to Apple Intelligence, but
Yeah,
I think I think it was such a rush. It may have been like we need like all our best people on this to get.
sure.
So I don't know, but I'm hoping this year's better. But I do also fear that that is a distraction.
Yeah, but yeah. I guess the first big thing to look forward to is the new Siri Apple Intelligence
Hmm.
thing where he can learn about you more. I'm very
Yeah.
skeptical how well this will work. So that's the first thing that
Yeah.
I think we're all eagerly looking forward to. That's going to be an 18.4, is that right?
That is the current rumor.
And that's not in beta
I'm
yet. We're in 18.3 betas right now.
Yeah, there's like nothing in the 18.3 beta so
Yeah.
far. Um, but I am prepared to be disappointed with the Siri thing. Like I don't it sounds very ambitious. I don't think they'll get it right out of the gates. I think it'll take some iteration. This contextual Siri
Yeah.
stuff, but that is probably I think what I've been looking the most forward to out of the Apple Intelligence stuff. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll prove me wrong,
For sure.
but yeah, that's the big thing we're looking forward to. Um, I'm assuming since we got a Final Cut and Logic Pro 2 last year that we'll maybe get a 3 of both of those apps sometime this year.
That would be a nice trend every year, a big update. But yeah,
I
that'd
mean,
be
it's
good.
not guaranteed, but fingers crossed. And as far as Apple Pro apps, I guess this one's more in quotes.
Yeah, Pixelmator.
Swift.
What's going on with that guy? Those guys. That'll be another couple of years, I think. Right?
Oh yeah, that's true. We gotta figure out what happens with Pixelmator, but I'm thinking Swift Playgrounds, um, which seems to have been forgotten because it didn't even usually or
Yes.
usually after the OS is it's been forgotten in a few ways, but usually after the OS has come out, it'll get an update at some point with the latest SDKs, and it
Mhm.
never got. It's yet to get an iPad OS 18 SDK
I had not
update.
realized that. That's
Yeah, I check a lot on this.
Wow.
So if I'm
That's
being
disappointing. Yeah.
it is. I filed a feedback about it, and they're like, we'll treat this as a feature request." It's like, great. Um, I like to think that they have a bigger update plan for this app, and like they were working on this. The Apple Intelligence stuff happened, and it just got deprioritized. Maybe even because it's like it is a few features away from being an Xcode for iPad. Like they don't. The foundations
Yeah.
are there.
They need to enable like in-app purchase and subscriptions. Those are two big things missing from a
Yeah.
baseline to be able to write most modern apps.
Yeah, widget kit support also needs to be there.
Watch app support. So
Mhm.
a lot of just foundational things that hopefully get added this year.
Even if they just kept it, iPad and iOS focused and didn't add the other platforms, like
Mm-hmm.
that's a start. But I I hope that's what they're doing. I feel it's more likely that they'll just keep letting it get these tiny updates every so often and forget about it. But I feel like if they went to the trouble to do Final Cut and Logic for iPad, Xcode at some point, I feel like is coming. But
Yeah,
I'm just
One
going to end it on that.
hope.
Xcode is coming. I'm
Xcode.
I'm going to believe.
because there's a cloud Xcode thing. Is that accurate?
There's an Xcode cloud, but that's for continuous integration and deployment.
Okay.
So building
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cloud, basically.
Yeah, I wonder if they'd ever add some kind of sync engine to Xcode where it would work with multiple Macs in your iPad in some more cohesive way.
iPad would be a great test bed for like an AI, fully 100% AI powered Xcode development environment or something.
Yeah, anyone can code. Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, they added they added some of that stuff to the latest Xcode, the predictive
Mhm.
models and stuff with code completion, but just this, they could throw AI all over this thing. It's just like, I don't know.
Sure.
It seems like an opportunity, but
Yeah.
fingers crossed for something to happen with Swift Playgrounds in 2025.
Yeah, and I'll be curious what new apps come out from third parties that are exciting this next year. Like we had a couple big ones this past year that were definitely of note and of importance. The 3D modeling was definitely a big one.
No, ZBrush, right?
Yeah, ZBrush was huge. So I'm curious if any other big apps are in the works.
Another thing we had, it got a little bit of press, but the Stream Deck kit. There's like a SDK.
Yeah, and then
for iPad. Yeah.
Simon's integrating that into one of his apps, I believe.
Okay.
Runestone, or I forget which apps he's pulling that into, but yeah, more apps should support that SDK. That'd be amazing.
Yep, and that's using Driver Kit, which is something they came out with a couple years ago for creating unified device drivers across iPad OS and Mac OS.
Yes, that is. So, Driver Kit was one of the most exciting announcements that we have not seen a bunch from.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was a way to, because, I get into internet fights with people all the time about how you can't, nothing's taking advantage of the hardware on the like the 16 gigs of RAM. What's the point? Nothing is taking advantage of it. Well, it's like, well, apps can. We just don't know if they are. There's no way for us to know. But capability is there in the APIs. So it'd be kind of nice if there was some way to expose that wasn't Activity Monitor, but something simpler. I don't know.
I love Activity Monitor. It's such a fun thing on the Mac just to have that open in your dock and the number's going up and down. Yeah. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap things up as we kick off this new year. I really appreciate your time tonight, Riley, diving into all this. Where can folks
always a pleasure
find your videos and follow you online?
So I'm on YouTube at SlatePad, but slatepad.org. You'll find my writings, links to YouTube and other social media. Basically everything I'm doing, you'll find it there.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, it's my session with Riley. My thanks again to Riley for his time recording. My thanks to you for your time and attention tuning in. You can check out Riley's work over at slatepad.org and on YouTube. As a reminder, you can support this podcast over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. With that, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.